Hi, everybody. Hi, this is Dr. Ken Muich, Fibromyalgia Wellness Center, Stetson Chiropractic Clinic, where we work with fibromyalgia patients and their related conditions. What I've been covering for you is part of our program in detail and why we cover certain things the way we do. And if you want to look back and check any of our previous live videos, they've all been saved. You could just go right back. This is number 82, believe it or not, number 82. I am doing this live video from out of town, and so that's okay because as long as I have my phone with me and a few other implements, we're good to go. Today we're going to be talking about trans fatty acids, and how they can affect you adversely, and why it's so important for fibromyalgia patients and anybody that has actually an inflammatory condition, which is any health condition in itself, can really take advantage of understanding this information I'll be giving you. If you ever want to ask any questions, please feel free to come in, and it just shows up on my video screen, and I'll answer your questions as I go along or as soon as I possibly can. And you can always invite your family and friends and all the different people that either want to have more information on fibromyalgia, or have fibromyalgia, or have family members that have fibromyalgia and understand what they're going through, because it is a very, very frustrating condition. So this is one of the things that we actually take patients off of. Part of their protocol is we take them off of sugar, gluten, trans fatty acids, and dairy, because they're all inflammatory in one way or another. Are they taken off of them 100% completely? Well, you know, just like yourself, it's very, very difficult to be pure and holy. Matter of fact, if you go in your kitchen, you have trans fatty acids probably in a lot of crooks and crannies you didn't even know about in the products itself that you have them. You got to read the back end of the products and see whether or not there's fat, saturated fat, so forth and so on. What's the percentage? Okay, and all the other things that are extremely important. But we're going to be talking about trans fatty acids and how they're involved. The level of omega-6, which is actually this trans fatty acids aspect, is so much greater than the omega-3, the ratio that I've talked about before. It's actually about 15 to 1, and it should not be any more than 2 or 3 to 1, but it's infiltrated almost everything that we have in our diets. It's extremely important to understand that. Now, when we're talking about trans fatty acids, we're talking about hydrogenated oils, we're talking about vegetable oils, saturated fats, animal-derived fats, all these things. And anything you go to a supermarket, anything that's in a box, boxed foods, cookies, cakes, anything that has a shelf life definitely has trans fatty acids in it, because as you'll understand, that's what allows that to actually have a shelf life. You know, when I was growing up, we had a friend that had a supermarket. We're talking about supermarket, it was about as big as a bedroom, right? With canned goods and foods. And there was very little that you could say had a shelf life in there, unless it was in a can. Otherwise, any of the breads and anything else he had in there had to be obviously either purchased or gotten rid of within a very short period of time, because they didn't have at that time a shelf life. Now, the thing about trans fatty acids is it stimulates in the brain something called arachidonic acid. And the arachidonic acid actually produces something called prostaglandins, or PGE2, which is your primary source of inflammation and pain in the body. So if you have, and it causes chronic problems. So if you have a high diet of trans fatty acids, you're going to have more inflammation in the body. It's like putting gasoline on a fire. It inflames the body even more so. And this is especially true with people that have a weight problem, either overweight or obese. Now, I'm not saying all fibromyalgia patients are overweight or obese, but they usually have a problem as far as weight is concerned, or fat percent. Why? Because they don't, their normal exercise pattern is not available for them. They can't exercise. Many of them can't. Taking a walk to the mailbox is about as far as they can go for many of them. And so their exercise is minimal. And when you have that, even if you're the same weight this year, let's say 185 pounds as you were last year, but you didn't exercise, anywhere from 5 to 10% of your lean tissue has actually turned into fat, believe it or not. And so we have to try to understand that and watch your diet. But I'm going to give you some information that'll help you naturally take care of some of these problems. Now, let's go back to the trans fatty acids here. Many things, trans fatty acids are found naturally in meat and milk. Anywhere from about 2 to 5 to 9% is trans fatty acids. And the vegetable oils that we hear of so much of actually started evolving around the 20th century, where they were using them in margarine and, as I mentioned, snack foods and packaged baked goods and frying fat foods, so forth and so on. Almost all trans fatty acids today in our diet are industrial processed. That's the partially hydrogenated, where they actually add hydrogen to trans fatty acids, and it turns into unsaturated fatty acid. That's extremely important because it's the worst type of fat that you can eat, unsaturated fatty acids, from vegetable oils especially. Why? Because it increases your low-density lipoproteins, cholesterol, and it reduces your high-density lipoproteins. Now, you want to have low LDLs and high HDLs. Low-density, low HDLs, high-density lipoproteins are good for you. But what trans fatty acids, or this unsaturated fatty acids, does is it actually reverses them. And so your problems with cholesterol are much greater. Not only that, but increases, obviously, your availability for heart disease, which is the leading killer in the United States of males and females, believe it or not, heart disease. And trans fatty acids, or unsaturated fatty acids especially, are those things that are of primary importance to those people that don't want to have a heart attack and that want to change their lifestyle and so forth. Hopefully this information will be very educational for you so that you understand. So the worst type of fat, and this is one of the things I sent out to everybody, what's the worst type of fat you get? Unsaturated fatty acids, because of the hydrogenation. So you have to understand that. Now, the vegetable oils, as I mentioned, are chemically altered, which is with the hydrogen infusion in it. And the reason why they put that hydrogen in is because this unsaturated fatty acids stays solid at room temperature. That's how this gives these products that are in the supermarkets a longer shelf life. You know, you can look at it and it gives you a date of good until November of 2020 or something like this. You know, a year or so or more. And so guess what that's doing to your system? No less your general health in itself. Now, some of these natural things, trans fatty acids, are good. Believe it or not, something called conjugated linoleic acid, CLA. Hopefully many of you have heard about this. It's from dairy, it's dairy products, and it's, believe it or not, it's beneficial. It's beneficial because the research that has been done on this by New England Journal of Medicine, Tufts University, a variety of different well-known, well-respected universities that check for nutritional involvement, found that conjugated linoleic acid, better known as CLA, actually burns fat off the body if you exercise or not. Anywhere from 1 to 3%. Doesn't sound like a lot, but if you stay on it, it is. And it's especially for those people like fibromyalgia patients or those people that have illnesses and so forth that do not allow them to exercise. Conjugated linoleic acid is great because not only does it burn the fat around the stomach, but also that really bad inflammatory fat around organs. And that's really, really important. So you can take conjugated linoleic acid very, very safely for yourself. So you want to stay off of unsaturated fatty acids. You want to look at the back end of products that you buy. I don't care if they're potato chips or if they're cookies, candies, whatever, even bread. You want to look at the amount of saturated fats and keep it below 1, like 0.5 if at all possible. Okay? It's so difficult to stay away from this completely. I mean, it's just almost impossible because it's on all these things that we take for granted. All right? And also check the carbohydrates, okay? The carbohydrate. And I mentioned this again over and over again. Low glycemic. You want to keep that as low as you possibly can. Once it gets into the 20 percentile, that's not good, okay? You want to get something, if at all possible, 15% or lower for the product, okay? And don't overdo it. I know that, as I mentioned before, potato chips. In Chicago, they got the Jay's potato chips. You can only eat one. You can't only eat one. That's true. That's what the scientists do for these products that are out there, that they taste buds, and they get them so inflamed for you that you have to keep eating these products. But you want to read, you have to be just like a diabetic. You have to read everything if you want to stay healthy. If you don't want to end up in a hospital with a heart attack, and I know some of the patients have already mentioned, about the fact that why did I have a heart attack? Why did I do this and that, so forth and so on. A lot of my patients have had stents. Stents are important for an emergency, but if you don't change your dietary beliefs and structures, you're going to have 4, 5, 6 stents in you, one after another, but you're not taking care of the problem. You're not taking care of what's causing these problems as far as that require stents. And as soon as you change your diet and start eating healthier, you won't have to worry about heart trouble. You won't have to worry about stents and so forth. So let's take a look here at safe oils, safe cooking oils. Boy, I'll tell you, I spent a lot of time looking things up. And it's really tough. Even if you go Google, they say, okay, I give you the 10 best and healthiest cooking oils, and you go through them and you look and you look and you look, and there's more advertising than anything. But I finally was able to get at least a list of what I think are the best oils. Now, some of these you can't cook at a high level. They call it higher smoke point. Okay. But I'll give you some information on some that you can. The safest ones, the safest oils, the healthiest cooking oils, that is, should be organic, cold-pressed, minimally processed oils. Let's put it that way. For example, fish oil, that's number one. Let's see, hemp seed oil, that's another one. Flaxseed oil, which is very good. Walnut oil has omega-3 in it. Pure avocado oil, that's a good one also. And olive oil, monosaturated, that would be excellent also for you to use. Now, as far as the cooking is concerned, I'm not really crazy about it, but canola oil, it does have a low saturated fat level, and it does have a higher cooking point, and it's not for salads. That would be like olive oil, things like this, but it would be for cooking. Sesame oil is good for stir fry. Grapeseed oil, a low saturated fat, and it also has a high smoke point. You want to stay away from coconut oil, palm oil, any, again, partially hydrogenated oils, as I mentioned, the unsaturated fats. And again, most of those things are on the back end of the products that you actually can purchase, which will tell you what the percentages are. And you want to make sure you stay away from as much as you can of those unsaturated fats, because as I mentioned, that's the number one heart disease killer for both men and women in the United States. Very fascinating. So hopefully I gave you enough information here to stay away from these trans fatty acids, especially those that have been hydrogenated, unsaturated fatty acids and so forth, and start eating properly. Do you stay away from meat completely? No, you don't stay away. Or dairy products? Well, we put people on a restricted hypoglycemic diet to start with to find if patients have a problem with dairy, if they have a problem with meat and so forth and so on. And if you do, oftentimes it's inflammatory and addictive and so forth. You have to stay away from those. You have to change your dietary measures. Otherwise, you're going to be sick. There's nothing any doctor can do unless you help yourself a little bit. Okay? That's the most important thing. So, let's see. What else do I have? Well, next week, let's see. It will be 8 to 15. I will keep you in touch. I'm going to be traveling. I've got some seminars that will be going on. That the airplane flights are right about the time that I'm supposed to be doing these presentations. But I'll keep you in touch with my schedule itself, and it'll include the same talks like this for about 15 minutes. I'll be doing some fibromyalgia seminar presentations at some conferences. They want to know exactly what I'm doing and how we're doing it. And so if it interferes with this, I will let you know as soon as I possibly can. And it'll only be because I might be flying somewhere in the air, and I don't think I can do a presentation at that time. Hey, I want to thank everybody. Again, invite your family and friends and so forth, and don't be afraid to ask questions. Come on board, and we always answer those. And I want to thank you again for allowing me in your home and give me an opportunity to give you some information, hopefully, that will be relevant for your health. Thank you very, very much. Dr. Ken Muich, Fibromyalgia Wellness Center, Stetson Chiropractic Clinic. And again, we've been working with fibromyalgia patients since 1990. There's very few surprises, except for there's more conditions, again, as I mentioned, are coming out that are really quite unusual, that having doctors diagnose the secondary conditions, which make everything else worse. Again, blessings to everyone. Please be safe. Enjoy a very, very safe and happy and enjoyable and healthy week. Hope to see you and talk to you very, very soon. And I'll let you know if I'll be on a road or not. Just trying to think the schedule. My apologies. I should have had that right in front of me. But anyway, we will be in touch with you. Let you know when the next schedule is. Thank you. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye now.